Hello, my name is Patrick Marks, and in this short video, we're going to be talking about public history and putting history to work. Let's try an experiment. Look at the video. What do you see? It's a car. The car seems to be driving somewhere, but there isn't a lot of information, is there? Let's try watching it again. Whoa! Did you hear that? The music changed. Huh. What do you think about that? Let's try it again. Huh. It seems completely different now. One more try. Okay, why did I start this video with that experiment? I showed you the same video 5 times, once without music, and 4 times with different music. Let's ask him some questions about the car. Where was the car going? Who was driving the vehicle? Perhaps most importantly, who was taking the video footage of the car and why? The video of the car is simply stock footage taken from a website called Pixabay, one of the royalty-free platforms for creators. The music is also by various artists from Pixabay. There isn't a deep story or meaning to the car, but it does illustrate a point about what we're going to talk about in today's video. Think about how the music changed what you believed about the car's story. Did the music drastically alter the tone of the car's movement? The same clip played. The car didn't change direction. It didn't change its speed. In fact, nothing in the entire clip was altered in any way. Then why did the story seem to adjust with the different music? In many ways, this is how history has been recorded. Each historian has placed a tone on their respective works. We can easily see this when we compare works such as The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith and Herodotus' Histories. Smith focuses on the economic world at the eve of the industrial age, with capitalism being the driver of society. Herodotus' records show a much more symbolic and nearly mystic version of history, particularly with the birth of Roman and Greek culture. Let me break it down like this. The car is the historical event. The action of it driving up the hill is part of the why it was driving up the hill. The music is the historian's writing of that historical event. Public historians are responsible for putting history to work in many different avenues: archives, public libraries, living museums, preservation societies, curators, and more. Can you begin to see the importance of the car video now? Think again about how the music changed the tone of what the car was doing. Remember, nothing in the video changed. This is why accuracy as well as tone is essential when researching and cataloging history. One of the more exciting ideas concerning this is the example of Cortez and the Aztecs. Hollywood is not the place to find historical accuracy. It is well known that the silver screen has the habit of engrossing the historical truth to entertain. Yet, if we are honest with ourselves, most of the public consume that bloated truth. Sometimes it may be the only opportunity for the public to learn anything about history. Perhaps this is why the saying, "history is written by the victors," is less fitting than "the entertainers write history." I digress, however. Herman Cortez was a Spanish conqueror who traveled from Spain to the New World for the glory of Spain and God. Cortez was a stout Catholic and was supremely interested in spreading Catholicism in every corner of the globe. So, it should not be surprising when he arrived at the great capital city of the Aztecs to be horrified at the brutal rituals being performed there. In a letter he wrote, he said about Tenochtitlan, "In these chapels are the images of, or idols, although I have before said many of them are also found on the outside. The principal ones, in which the people have greatest faith and confidence, I precipitated from their pedestals and cast them down the steps of the temple, purifying the chapels in which they had stood, as they were all polluted with human blood shed in the sacrifices. In the place of these, I put the images of Our Lady and the saints, which excited not a little feeling in Montezuma and the inhabitants, who at first remonstrated, declaring that if my proceedings were known throughout the country, the people would rise against me, for they believed that their idols bestowed on them all temporal good, and if they permitted them to be ill-treated, they would be angry and withhold their gifts, and by this means the people would be deprived of the fruits of their earth and perish with famine. This letter is a primary source written by Herman Cortez and archived by the American Historical Association. It is an example of a public history organization. The AHA is an excellent example of an archivist type of public history organization. This letter from Cortez is one such example that sheds light on his actions against the Aztecs. Hollywood would lead you to believe that the Aztecs were a noble people and were unfairly targeted and exploited by the Spanish. While it is true that the Spanish were brutal and unfair, it does not mean the Aztecs, a people known for their human sacrifice and exploitation of those they deemed inferior, as innocent. Put yourself in the shoes of Cortez. How would you react if you, a stout Catholic, witnessed human beings sacrificed on altars? I'd like to think that most of us would go to great lengths to end it. Can you see the importance of the car video? On one hand, we see what Hollywood and other historical entertainers present about a piece of history, and on the other we see the AHA presenting a different case, at least evidence of why Cortez did what he did. Can you see the importance of the car video? If the event is Cortez destroying the Aztecs, the car, and the tone is the way that history is written, the music, can you begin to see the problem? How can anyone be unbiased? Instead of seeing it simply as a colonizer destroying an innocent people, we can begin to understand the why behind what he did, regardless of our opinion on it. This is what public historians do. They archive, present their findings, and represent them by putting history to work. But what does that look like, putting history to work? We explored the example of Cortez and the Aztecs, but what about closer to home? Most people will not often leave their state, let alone their cities. So how does history impact those individuals? The birth of the internet gave historians and academics worldwide a brand new and handy tool. The connectivity of the internet has garnered massive exposure to the world of historical preservation. This is one of the most critical aspects of public history: preservation. A few organizations have braved this frontier, including the American Battlefield Trust. According to their website, the ABT aims to preserve and educate America's most critical continental battlefields, much of which is from the American Civil War. As they say in their mission statement, the American Battlefield Trust preserves America's hallowed battlegrounds and educates the public about what happened there and why it matters. Sites such as Gettysburg, Shiloh, and Fort Wagner are simply a few of the battlefields of the Civil War. Not only does the ABT focus on preserving the battlefields through crowdfunding and other sources, but it also educates on why it matters. According to their website, they have preserved 58,000 acres of hallowed grounds where Americans have given their lives. They have many virtual tours where people from anywhere in the country can explore the battlefields and read first-hand accounts from letters, diaries, and battle orders. This connects people to the historical sites. The ABT is one of many public historical societies that focuses on bringing history to life in a tangible way that is accessible to the public in a meaningful way. The success of the ABT sparked other preservation societies, such as the American Revolution Trust, formerly known as Campaign 1776. These preservation societies are an important part of preserving and educating the public of history and its impact on today's economy, politics, and social norms. Let us think back to the example of the car. These preservation societies present the why of the car's motivation for driving up the hill. Instead of being wrapped up in the tone of the history and how it is presented, they are concerned with telling the public about the history through preserving these hallowed grounds. It is vital that these organizations continue their work, as putting history to work is among the highest of academic callings. Thank you.